Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the press, as well as fellow South Africans who are connecting with us online and live streaming and through different channels of our media. We want to thank you for responding, as always, to our request to this media briefing, which will address a few issues. The National Working Committee of the ANC met on Monday when the sheriff was here outside our building. A few issues we want to address. One is that we call upon the veterans of the ANC to stop decampaigning the organization and work through the structures of the organization. The leadership of the ANC, from its president Cyril Ramaphosa and all of us, have availed ourselves to the counsel and the direction of our veterans and stalwarts. But on a daily basis, the veterans of the ANC have led a charge on this organization and attacked the ANC and decampaign our movement in a difficult period, faced with difficult issues. If there's anywhere where we are as a leadership, we are available. 12 o'clock, midnight, all the time. If they wish to make a call on us, and like they have done on numerous occasions, on issues of renewal and so on, we as leadership elected in Nazareth in the past conference, we believe we assist with these matters. In a couple of days, it will be the first year anniversary of this leadership. And there are a lot of issues that have been raised, which some have not been addressed. But they have not left our political agenda. Issues of integrity in the organization have not left our platform and the agenda. We have established the Integrity Commission. We are responding to all the issues the Integrity Commission have raised with us, including a number of cases that have been forwarded to the National Executive Committee by the Integrity Commission. And the NEC, as it meets, will not only reflect but will take decisions on the matters that have been brought to its attention by the Integrity Commission. All members of the ANC implicated to the Zondo Commission who have not appeared before the Integrity Commission, which its number is around 89 people, have been referred to the disciplinary committee of the ANC to attend to them. All of them, without exception, their cases are referred to the disciplinary committee, and the disciplinary committee will deal with the matters. As early as last week, I met with all the presenters of the ANC DC, led by Uriel Abrams, to process all these matters, including members of the ANC who are bringing the organization in disrepute in terms of public spares and everyone else, to be attended to. So, the cases that it is alleged were not attended to, we have compiled them, We're presenting them to the NEC and bringing an update on all those cases. And these are about 54 cases. There was a report in the media that we have shelved cases of integrity and then reduced them to 53. That report is incorrect. We've got cases of people who have appeared before the Integrity Commission and were processed, and there were decisions by the previous NEC, but because we are on a path of renewal, we have brought those cases back and given report on them. And we should, after the NEC have reflected on those cases, we should be able to brief members of the media and the public at large about each case and what conclusions have been made. We're supposed to have a meeting of the NEC special. We realized that because of leakages and the distortions of NEC meetings to a point where people are quoted in verbatim, it has constrained us to convene a meeting of the ANC NEC virtually, which require that we need to meet physically as an organization to conclude on these matters. But nonetheless, we will convene a special meeting to conclude on the matters of terms of reference of the Integrity Commission, which have been concluded by the National Executive Committee of the ANC. We wish to emphasize that the ANC will speak for itself and not through faceless sources. Those who speak as faceless sources do not represent the positions of the African National Congress. We will convene January 8 in Mpumalanga Mbombela Stadium on the 13th of January in Mbombela Stadium. We will, in February 24th, launch our election campaign at Moses Mabhida Stadium. Depending on when the elections will be held, we are planning our Siyanqoba rally at FNP Stadium. We're going into these elections campaigning hard amidst the challenges and with the sole and purpose of the ANC emerging victorious and gaining more support among the populace of South Africa. On rand manipulation, before the rand manipulation, we also want to welcome the Concord outcome in relation to the Electoral Act, and Concord having affirmed that there is nothing unconstitutional about the Act. We want to thank and join many South Africans as the ANC in welcoming the decision of Concord on this matter, as it enabled the Electoral Commission to begin with its work with absolute certainty. We await the President to decide on the date of the elections. From our side, as the ANC, we are almost nearing the conclusion of the selection process of public representatives. And for the first time, I think you will realize that there's not been any fight, any squabbles. People were free to nominate themselves, to campaign for themselves in social media and everywhere else, to motivate for themselves for election going into Parliament. Our process, where it is now, people have been interviewed, they have been screened, so that we don't have public representatives with criminal records, people who are implicated in other matters in terms of the law. So we want public representatives in good standing. Our list, once it is finalized, will also be subjected to integrity processes of the ANC. And we're looking forward to convening our national list meeting sometime next year to conclude the process. So we've been hard at work, and this is a lot of work that we've been embarking upon. We'll give fuller details on these matters sometime next year in terms of the selection of public representatives and answer your questions, including the distortions about the standing of ANC structures in relation to this process. We'll clarify those matters at that point. The ANC's Working Committee has thoroughly reviewed the comprehensive report from the Economic Transformation Subcommittee concerning manipulation of the rand. The Working Committee has resolved that this report should be presented at the forthcoming meeting of the National Executive Committee to enable a detailed analysis of the repercussions of this manipulation on the most vulnerable segments of our society. The ANC reiterates its call for law enforcement agencies to act decisively and expediently in bringing criminal charges against those individuals and banking institutions implicated in manipulating the rand. This egregious act against the South African populace cannot be left unpunished. The people of South Africa rightfully demand and deserve justice. We insist on accountability from those who have willfully compromised our economy for their gains. The rand manipulation was a crime of corruption, and we must call things by their first names. Corruption in the private sector is still corruption, and its consequences are just as severe. Furthermore, we assert that the directors and executives of these banks should face prosecution in their individual capacities, being held personally responsible for the detriment they have inflicted upon our economy. This act is nothing short of a crime against the people of South Africa. We maintain that the 43 million rand settlement offer proposed by Standard Chartered pales in comparison to the damage brought upon our economy. The full extent of this criminal manipulation of our currency, particularly its impact on the poorest among us, is yet to be fully realized and acknowledged. The ANC has also taken note of the public statements made by various banks proclaiming their innocence or guilt in this matter. We urge these institutions to engage through official channels to address these matters appropriately and transparently. We commend the Competition Commission for their diligent investigation into this matter. Their work is integral in unraveling the complexities of this economic malfeasance and ensuring that justice is served for the people of South Africa. On the matter of Ezulwini company, following numerous misrepresentations and conjectures by various media outlets, of course fed by the same people, nothing wrong about the media because they report what they are told, regarding the legal dispute between the ANC and Ezulwini Pty Ltd. It is imperative to clarify the actual state of affairs in this matter. Initially, I will provide background and the context to the genesis of this issue before summarizing our current position. During the 2019 general elections campaign, I was appointed the head of the ANC's election campaign. My responsibilities included overseeing various aspects of the campaign, including procuring elections material. Contrary to some claims, we engaged a different firm, not Ezulwini, for our election campaign. In 2020, Ezulwini initiated legal proceedings against us in the High Court of Johannesburg, claiming payment for material used in the 2019 elections, including banners. As the head of the ANC's election campaign then, the Treasurer General, Paul Mashatile, and I had complete oversight of contracts and approvals for election materials. We dealt with a number of companies and were never approached by Ezulwini to provide such materials. The alleged debt to Ezulwini was surprising, given our lack of engagement with them. Upon learning of this supposed debt, we initiated an investigation to understand its origins. It emerged that two junior staff members, without authorization from either myself or the TG, had been dealing with Ezulwini. The ANC leadership did not sanction these interactions. A number of allegations have emerged through faceless sources that one of these junior staff has got blood relations with myself. I've got no blood relationship except comradeship with this individual. And to delve deeper, we commissioned a forensic investigation by the esteemed Edward Nathan Sonnesberg Forensics. The investigation, completed early in 2023, revealed criminality and corruption between Ezulwini and the unauthorized staff members. Based on these findings, we sought to introduce the forensic report as evidence in the Supreme Court of Appeal. However, the SCA dismissed this aspect of the appeal, thus rejecting the entire appeal. We are now taking this matter to the Constitutional Court, hoping they will accept the forensic report into evidence at this late stage. The report provides incontrovertible evidence of Ezulwini offering substantial bribes to the two staff members. These individuals in turn forged documents presented to Ezulwini, falsely indicating that the ANC had engaged in their services. There is no evidence to suggest that a Zuluini was responsible for erecting posters and banners for the ANC during this period. If they did, it was under fraudulent pretenses. In summary, we hope the Constitutional Court will consider these facts. This issue is significant for the ANC and of national importance, given the public interest it has garnered. Comrades and supporters of the African National Congress remain steadfast in addressing the Zuluini matter. We urge each member and supporter to stay united during these challenging times. Our unwavering trust in the judicial system, especially the Constitutional Court, has led to a strategic pause in the rate of execution, demonstrating our confidence in fair judicial outcomes. We stand together against those attempting to manipulate this issue for political gain, upholding the principles of good governance, inspired by leaders like Chief Luthuli and Winnie Mandela. We have actively pursued those implicated in our internal forensic investigation. Our commitment is to the judicial process, rather than engaging in unproductive public spends. Financially, the ANC is robust and resilient. We assure our members of our stable financial standing, ensuring our capacity to meet obligations and sustain daily operations of the ANC. Our focus is firmly on eliminating procurement irregularities, fraud, and corruption, with an unwavering dedication to transparency and accountability. Our thorough investigation aims to maintain the integrity of the ANC and trust vested in us. Fear and doubt have no place among us. The ANC, Africa's oldest revolutionary movement, enriched by the legacy of fearless soldiers like Solomon Mahlangu and leaders like Lillian Ngoyi, stands unshaken, brave and steadfast. We continue to advance in unity and strength. In other words, we fear Foko. I can put my head on the block and no one will liquidate the African National Congress. As the ANC, we are not going to an AI-generated Zuluin, artificial intelligence. They've got their case, they've won their case in different platforms. Our biggest worry was to surrender to a fraudulent matter, which will lead the ANC paying millions of rands to something that never happened. If we procured posters, 102 million, those organizations who know how much it cost for a poster, the ANC campaign and everything else, it would have meant that we still have those posters up until now. It's a lot of money. But nonetheless, they are determined. They are determined through this fraudulent behavior to basically even liquidate or make it a point that the ANC is declared insolvent. For a service they've never rendered. They've got connections, they connive, they've got connections even in the ANC. You've got comrades who will call you that they know them, and therefore they are making suggestions about this and that in terms of the case All what we want to tell them is that comrades must desist from that. There was never, ever a procurement with a Zuluan, even if they may know each other from Newcastle or wherever they come from. There was never a procurement. This is a fraudulent matter. The ANC meet its obligations. There are people we owe in the ANC for the longest of time, and we have entered into terms of payment with them. It's the first time that we are facing a fraudulent matter, and people are determined to extort millions of rands from the African National Congress. And in certain quarters, they call themselves ANC members. Now, we will not go to court. It is costly if we owe to people. We'll simply settle and pay them in installments. The fact of the matter is that we never procured. And the courts also, because of our legal positioning, have found against us. In this particular instance, knowing very well on our part that we never procured these posters. And they are nowhere where you can say you saw them in the campaign of the elections. So, we're not fighting a case of a black company that procured with the ANC and the ANC does not want to pay the company. We'll never do that. We've got many people who love this movement, who their children have gone to bed sometimes with bigger challenges because of their indebtedness to the African National Congress. And they are owed lots of money. And the ANC have entered into terms to pay them, and we pay them, and we will pay them. In this particular instance, this is not the same case. It's a case of people who have met, worked with our staff internally in the organization, and decided to defraud the organization and milk millions out of the ANC. We wake up every day at 7 o'clock in the morning in the election war room, and the first item on our agenda all the time was procurement of material, publicity material for the elections. Ezulwini never came to our agenda. Even this letter using my signature and all of that was done fraudulently. One sentence, because somebody was given the power and the authority to execute. Mashatile never signed to concur. Where will he have gotten the money, 102 million for posters? How can you get the organization into such debt without a consultation? Nobody have such authority, even companies, in terms of good governance, CEOs, they've got a limit. I had no limit of 102 million to procure posters for the ANC. As Zuluini, they know that. They know that, but they insist on this and go to the courts and all of that. All the people we owe, we are committed to their full payment. In installment, we enter into terms with them. This was never there. It was never part of those companies that we had to procure with as the African National Congress. The ANC delegation under the leadership of the Secretary General yesterday held a significant meeting with a range of Palestinian leaders. Hamas, Fatah, PLO, we met them here at Lutuli House. The meeting included the SACP delegation led by its General Secretary, Comrade Soli Mapaila. We saw representatives from various Palestinian organizations, including Fatah movement, Hamas, Islamic Jihad movement in Lebanon, and as well as the embassy and the ambassadorial of Palestine in South Africa. As the ANC, we were privileged to welcome these leaders of liberation on a poignant day marking the 10th anniversary of the passing of our revered liberation icon, President Nelson Mandela. His enduring words remind us of our duty to actively support the cause of freedom and justice. This principle guides our unwavering support for the liberation and self-determination of Palestine as a matter of social justice. The Palestinian leaders provided an alarming account of the ongoing genocide against their people, highlighting over 7 decades of occupation, racial discrimination, violence, unlawful detentions, and systematic oppression. The relentless assault on innocent lives, including women and children, and the targeted destruction of essential infrastructure paints a grim picture of humanity. In response, the ANC and the Palestinian delegation concurred on several critical actions, including calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the opening of borders for humanitarian aid, the release of all Palestinian political prisoners, and the cessation of occupation. We stressed the right to self-determination for the Palestinian people, their right to resist, and the need for global solidarity in isolating apartheid practices in Israel. We also urged the United States of America and Western countries to withdraw their support from such oppressive regimes. The meeting underscored the paramount importance of unity among Palestinian organizations, such as the Fatah movement, Hamas, in their collective struggle against occupation and for self-determination. Echoing the sentiment of President Mandela, the ANC reaffirms its commitment to the belief that our own freedom is inextricably linked to the freedom of the Palestinian people. Thank you.